what they decide will resonate around the world.
This is a fraud on the American public.
The elections, always extraordinary stories.
We could know the results as early as tomorrow morning, but it may take a little longer.
We just have no idea how this one will end.
This is an embarrassment to our country. Frankly, we did win this election.
That is factually inaccurate.
There's still so much that is uncertain.
So settle in.
This does not look like it's going to be a quick, decisive night. The only way this was going to be a quick night was for a decisive early result in those southern states for Joe Biden in Florida. Democrats are nervous about what they're seeing in Florida, Georgia, and North Carolina.
You can't say U.S. election and not talk Florida. A huge prize with 29 electoral college votes.
We're in the heart of the Cuban-American community, and there is a lot of support for Donald Trump here.
You know, the experts I spoke to on the Latino vote from Florida University said that they were surprised that it was shifting.
Hillary Clinton won this district back in 2016 by about 300,000 votes. Joe Biden is not having nearly as strong a performance tonight, and a lot of Democrats are really disappointed that Joe Biden wasn't able to draw that same support.
This is obviously a U.S. election like no other, in the middle of a pandemic. And for safety reasons, more Americans will vote by mail than ever before. Just over half of states will only count mail-in ballots that arrive before or on Election Day. The rest will count ballots that arrive after Election Day, as long as they're postmarked on or before November the 3rd. Those states represent about 2/3 of all electoral college votes, which is why a winner might not be declared tonight.
It's going to take, 2 or 3 days before we get the results here in the city of Philadelphia, and that's a city and a county where they're counting right now these absentee, these mail-in ballots. There's a lot of counties that said they're not going to start counting them right away. They're going to wait until tomorrow. They're going to prioritize the in-person voting. A lot of pressure is on all the people in there and the city officials too, because you have the President of the United States saying that any mail-in ballots that are counted after Election Day could lead to cheating, it could lead to violence. He criticized the Supreme Court for allowing that to happen, even though it was actually a state Supreme Court decision.
Florida, Ohio, the great state of Texas for Donald Trump. Texas, with its 38 electoral college votes, goes to Donald Trump. What does that do to the pathway for the Democrats?
Yeah, it's making it increasingly narrow, right? Like the walls are kind of closing in on him right now. A lot of the other possibilities he was hoping for don't seem to exist now or have been confirmed not to exist. I mean, when you look at the numbers in Wisconsin, and Michigan, and Pennsylvania, it really is the headline story at this point. Advance voting, mail-in ballots among the last to be tabulated in Pennsylvania. Will they skew heavily enough in Biden's favor in order for him to take Pennsylvania, and the same story in Wisconsin, and the same story in Michigan? Those are the answers I promise you we will not have tonight.
We believe we're on track to win this election. We're feeling real good about Wisconsin and Michigan. And by the way, it's going to take time to count the votes. We're going to win Pennsylvania.
What did the president do? He isn't speaking, but he certainly has been tweeting. So he tweeted, and I quote, "We are up big, but they are trying to steal the election. We will never let them do it. Votes cannot be cast after the polls are closed." Within minutes of him tweeting it, Twitter has labeled it as misleading, as calling the content of the tweet misleading in the middle of an election. The part of the president's tweet that Twitter found misleading is the reference to steal. The reference to stealing the election.
It's as if Donald Trump knew how it would play out, because he's been laying the groundwork for this for some time now. The argument, by the way, for those who don't know, is that the Pennsylvania courts agreed, because of the COVID pandemic, to allow a longer amount of time for the counting because the mail-in numbers were, through the roof. The U.S. Supreme Court agreed with that, although it also said that it would revisit if need be. Donald Trump and his lawyers' argument is that it's not up to courts to decide the rules of an election, that's up to legislatures. Therefore, there's a legal problem with this.
We had such a big night. You just take a look at all of these states that we've won tonight, and then you take a look at the kind of margins that we've won them by, and all of a sudden everything just stopped. This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list, okay?
While that sounded very much like a victory speech, it's really important to know that that is factually inaccurate.
When President Trump says he wants all the voting to stop, the voting has stopped. There is no more voting. What is happening is the states are counting millions of legally cast, democratically cast ballots of the American people trying to make their voice heard in this election. So Donald Trump saying he essentially wants the vote counting to stop, which would amount to disenfranchising all of those voters. He talks about wanting to go to the Supreme Court. It's unclear on what grounds he would go to the Supreme Court to have these ballots stopped being counted.